Scott, aka FPL Heavy Metal, and Paul. Boys, how are you doing this evening?
Brill, you?
Knackered, if I'm honest.
Oh.
It's been a busy day, busy week at work, I should say.
Okay.
But otherwise, well, actually, we'll get into it in a little bit. I'm a bit depressed about my FPL score, if I'm perfectly honest. But
a bit depressed.
A bit depressed, yeah. We'll dig into that. We'll dig into that. Paolo, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good. Yeah, another good week for me, and moving on up.
Top of the league, second week in a row. Arsenal, that is, not yourself personally in the FPL sense, but yeah, you got to be feeling good about Arsenal continuing with a good form and in the Premier League. So it was one of those kind of like scrappy wins that champions or champions elect normally tend to get. Touch wood, but yeah, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, it's all rosy in the Arsenal garden at the moment. Can't complain.
We'll dig into Arsenal a bit deeper as the episode goes on. This particular episode is a bit of a Arsenal versus Palace special, I guess you could call it. Arsenal versus Palace coming up in game week 9. And obviously, Scott is our resident Palace fan, Paul, our resident Arsenal expert. So we'll be giving them the floor and plenty of time to talk about the various Arsenal assets and their predictions for the game coming into game week 9. We'll go through our game week 8 teams, the good, the bad, and the definite ugly.
Ugly.
Well, but ugly, yeah, exactly. And hopefully we'll help you avoid the mistakes that I've made and hopefully try and benefit from the green arrows that these guys have seen this week. As ever, the channel cannot grow without your support. So if you are tuning in for the first time this evening, please drop this video a like, get yourself in the comments, tell us where you're from, where you're watching, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and we would appreciate it even more so if you could just hit that share button, share it across your personal socials, get more people involved. And yeah, just come and join us, have a chat, and we'll talk FPL and just Premier League in general over the next. I mean, we try to keep it under an hour, but
if we're lucky,
we're 17 episodes in, and I think we've kept it under an hour twice this season. So it'll probably be around about hour 10, hour 20. Let's just crack on. Let's get into it. I'm gonna bring the slides up for this week. Again, thanks, Paul, for your efforts and your hard work in putting these together.
Yeah, good stuff, Paul. You want them?
We'll crack on with our thoughts on game week 8 as it happened. We've got defense heavy blueprint. Amorim, the record breaker, and a disjointed Liverpool. Big chances taken finally at Selhurst Park. Battle at the bottom, a few kind of relegation 6-pointers quite early on in the season. And then the international break and squad rotation woes as lots of injuries came out the back of that. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of people watching this live right now or watching the recording afterwards that almost definitely had Enzo in their squads, and we were disappointed not to see him in the lineup against who did they play at the weekend? Forest. That's right.
Right there in front of you.
Yeah,
Darren.
it's right there in front of me,
Right
and
there.
it's right at the top as
of
well. Right. You know, that's probably like my FPL week in a nutshell, right there. Defense heavy blueprint. Listen, I feel like we've done enough episodes now on the benefits of DEFCON and having like a heavy at the back kind of formation for FPL, but it's definitely paying off, right? I think Scott, you posted an image in our group chat earlier on today. Was it like 7 out of the top 10 highest scoring players this year are all defenders?
Yeah, I mean it's actually 10 out of the top 13.
Wow.
You got Haaland, Semenyo, and Caicedo being a holding mid are the only 3 non-defensive players in that list.
Amazing. So talk us through it. So you got let me guess. You got like Senesi. You're going to have Timber, Gabriel, Calafiori in there. Dan Burn up there.
Dan Burn's in there. You got Guehi, Munoz, and the two lads from Sunderland, Alderete and Michele, both in there, and the goalkeeper, Sunderland goalkeeper, Roos, in there. That's your 13 top scoring players for this season as it stands. I mean, unfortunately, you can only have 5 defenders in your team, so as long as you pick those 5, you're doing really well.
Yeah. It won't surprise anybody to know that I have 1 out of those 13 players in my entire squad, Haaland, obviously. But these 2 boys will talk you through their teams later on. You'll see a lot more of those 13 players in their lineups. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I feel like, as I say, like previous episodes, we've done DEFCON to kind of death now. I think people.
Well, it's more. I think it's more than that a little bit. Because if you can throw in a clean sheet, a goal, an attacking return on top of that, they're the players. You look at Timber, scored twice. Gabriel's a goal threat. Munoz is an assist machine. Gahey's popping up with assists.
Reece James at the weekend.
Reece James at the weekend, highest scoring player of the week this
assist,
week. Yeah,
and clean sheet.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a combination of everything.
Potentially, but
Reece James, that player that I had in my game week 1 squad, and I was convinced to take out that Reece James, that one. Yeah, okay, cool.
Well, if you're going to be bitter, it is game week 8.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't think anybody I picked Reece James as a complete left field pick anyway. So I don't think even I could have predicted that there would be multiple games in the first 8 game weeks where he would have scored, assisted, clean sheets, and just for the benefit of being on set pieces as well. He's picking up quite a haul.
So on that, Darren, does he become an option now? He's played 4 back-to-back 90 minutes for Chelsea. He looks fit. They're obviously managing his minutes, his workload in between, so he's sort of resting in the European games. Does he become an option now?
Well, I think he has to just through the pure fact that he seems to be the only Chelsea backline player that's capable of getting through 90 minutes without getting a red card. Was it Malo Gusto again this week with a red card?
The red card roulette at Chelsea, yeah. His turn this week.
Is that Gusto's second this year as well? I feel like he got one early on as well. Was he game week 2, game week 3 got carded as well?
Possibly. I think they're all taking it in turns. They haven't got enough defenders anyway, so they can't be getting any more red cards, surely.
Maybe it will be Reece James's turn next week. Who knows?
Well, I'm drafted in Chalobah this week. I hope it's not his turn again.
3 assists and 1 goal in 4 starts. So, providing he can stay fit, I think he's a great pick. It's just that fitness. We know he's got cheese strings for hamstrings.
Yeah,
that would be my concern. But at the moment, like you say, they seem to be managing him very well. So, yeah, I think he's a great pick.
Well, I think being a World Cup year as well, very important for him personally that he stays fit, because Tuchel, his time in Chelsea, loved Reece James. Didn't he? Remember that season, him on one side and Ben Chilwell on the other. He was FPL dream team, those two. And a fit Reece James is probably arguably England's best right back. So from an England point of view, let's hope he does stay fit for the season.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'd love to see him back in the England lineup regularly. I think the way that I think what Trent offers there specifically for England is very, very different. And actually, even in the last competition, we saw Trent moving more into that kind of midfield, hybrid role as well. So opens up that position at right back massively for Reece to kind of just drop in there and make that position his own. But yeah, it's been interesting watching the first kind of 8 weeks and seeing those kind of where those high scores are coming from, and it is pretty much from those backline players. I think Pep himself even said post Everton game that the goals need to start getting spread out a bit more. It can't always be on Haaland to put the ball in the back of the net. And again, it was a really curious stat that you mentioned as well, Scott, that Haaland is City's top scorer, but who's the second highest top scorer at City right now?
Well, everyone at City's got 1 goal. and it's Steve, the Burnley centre half, who got the double own goal against them. He's actually their second top scorer.
Incredible. It's pretty spectacular. That's the case. When you think about the attacking talents at City as well, that the goals aren't necessarily coming from elsewhere.
Well, but I mean, if Haaland was to go on a bit of a drought, which is looking highly unlikely because he is a bit of a machine, that's not a good thing, is it? I mean, the goals at Arsenal are being shared around. All the top sides do share their goals around because they're threats from all positions on the pitch. If all the goals are going through Haaland, it's not a particularly good sign for City.
No, I would say Arsenal probably got the opposite problem in that Gyökeres isn't scoring as regularly as what they would perhaps like, but they have the good fortune that they've got the Martinellis, the Trossards, the Sakas, the Ezes, to Rice and everyone else to kind of pop in.
It's the backline boys at Arsenal get the goals,
Gabriel, Timber, and the likes. Yeah, that's a good point. Cool. Okay. The other thing to highlight that we wanted to highlight around game week 8, Amorim, the record breaker, and a disjointed Liverpool. A couple of things to highlight here. It's the first time that Manchester United have won at Anfield in 12 years, I think it is. And it's the first time that Amorim has achieved back-to-back Premier League wins as well. Not good news for Liverpool. They actually looked well off the pace, actually, against what many would be calling right now not a great Man United side. But actually, Man United, for their 3 points, looked really, really worth it, actually. They really took Liverpool to the sword.
Well, United seem to step up for these big games. Oddly, they seem to be a far more cohesive side against the bigger oppositions, against the Man Cities and the Liverpools and Arsenals and what have you. And then sort of tail off against the Leicester teams. But Liverpool, we mentioned a few episodes ago, have looked disjointed from game week 1. Something really not right there, trying to integrate all those new players. But even the system he put out at the weekend wasn't working with pretty much the team from last year. Something not clicking there. But surely they're too good, got too much firepower for them not to turn it around quick and be a threat for the title.
You'd think so, but that's 4 losses in a row. That doesn't happen very often, especially to a champions-elect team. And if anything, everyone was saying they've got better with all the players they've bought. And like I say, it's just I guess it's just a surprise how badly they are struggling to integrate some of these players. And I think it's things like the lack of defensive stability is a bit of a shock. And then, how badly Salah's numbers have dried up, although, from an FPL sense, he hasn't been awful in regards to his returns. He isn't, I guess, the Salah that we're used to, producing those Haaland numbers. So I think that's the one thing to shout out. And fair play to Man United. I think they definitely rode their luck. It's worth noting that. Obviously, Liverpool hit the woodwork 3 times. Gakpo missed a sitter of a header that he definitely should have scored.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you need a bit of luck like that in games of that magnitude, and I think Man United deserved that luck because of how they put themselves about, especially with that midfield. He took risks by playing Bruno and Casemiro in that centre midfield, and it seemed to pay off in a sense that they got individual performances. I still look at that Man United team as a long-term project that are going to come unstuck in games more often than not, because again they play quite open. And yeah, I think it worked in this way because it was a ding-dong affair, wasn't it? They could play open because they knew that they were.
Do you think the early goal had a bearing on that performance?
Say that again, mate. Sorry.
The early goal, in Burma scoring after 2 minutes, had a marked sort of bearing on the performance.
Yeah, obviously, early goals change games, right? They really do, because obviously the game plan completely goes out the window when you concede that early. Again, worth pointing out that the ref should have stopped it. It's a head injury.
Didn't see it, apparently.
I'm not sure how he didn't see it when he's right next to him.
He's on the floor
holding his head. We know how players like to kind of feign these head injuries to slow the games down, etc. But it clearly was a head injury, and I'm not sure how he missed it. So again, a little bit of luck for Man United in that sense as well. So they needed it, but they deserved it. So I wouldn't take anything away from them. And Slabhead comes good again.
On a Liverpool perspective, I got Gakpo in my team. He looked very threatening. He was peppering that post.
Their only real threat. Real threat.
Yeah, he was loving that left-hand post as well, which was rather annoying. Salah was in line for 2 assists for those. So if those goals go in, Salah then picks up 2 assists, and these numbers look better, and people will sort of have him in a different light. So football's a game of very small margins at times, isn't it?
Yeah,
exactly that's why we love it.
You're telling me. I think watching the Newcastle game, Bruno Guimaraes missed just to the right-hand post, like with a shot from inside the box, and then the lead up to the Voltemade goal as well. He was kind of like he crossed it in, but then it kind of flicked off of another Newcastle player. I can't remember who actually got credited the assist in the end, but it's just it's that fine margin of like, I've got Guimaraes in my team and I'm watching that game and I'm going, he could have had a goal and an assist, and not just like spuriously saying, oh, he played 90 minutes and he could have done better. Like they're literally those fine margins of it going one side of the post and then it clattering off another Newcastle player before Voltemade kind of backheels it in or flicks it through his legs and in. Yeah. Beautiful finish, by the way. We're talking about Guimaraes having a goal and an assist and a clean sheet and all this lovely stuff. So it's like the same thing with the all right, yeah. And I mean, to be fair, that's a pretty big violin. I'll take it.
I've got the big one out for you, mate.
Cheers, man.
So on cue, Arsenal are playing tonight. So Paul has got his eyes glued on the Arsenal.
Yeah, I'll keep looking away. Sorry.
Yeah, Gabriel's just putting them one up.
Yeah, from a set piece.
From a set piece, surprise, yeah.
I was just about to ask, was it a 35-yard thunder bastard? But no.
I guess speaking of fine margins, it's probably a good time to go on to Palace's ding dong of a goal fest.
Absolutely.
And Mateta finally taking some of those big chances created.
Did you see his numbers from the weekend?
Yes, it was 3.64 XG, which is, I think, is the largest XG. I can't remember the time period. It evades me. You've probably got it there, Scotty. Fill me in.
Well, it is. You're right. It's 3.64 XG for a single game. It's the highest in a Premier League game in history that a single player has done that. Which brings me swiftly on to the question of the week.
Oh, God.
So here's the question for you boys. So Mateta broke the record, the highest XG in a single game. Who previously held the record?
I think I know it.
I think
it's tailored to you.
I think I know it.
Oh,
it's it's Alexander Lacazette.
It was Lacazette, yes, against United.
I remember that game as well.
2017.
Was that?
2.97 was the record before that. Yeah.
Was it the 4-0 game? Is it 4-0?
No, if I remember correctly, I think he only got one in that game.
Nice. that is classic 2017 Arsenal.
So that's two questions back to back. You like Amarin, you break the record now. Yeah. You're off and running 10 weeks in a row.
If they're always slightly Arsenal orientated,
this is what I was thinking. I was thinking, I'll get my hair cut if you get 5 in a row.
Thanks, mate. I'll go for it. So what did you make of that game, Scott? So obviously,
we're 2-0 down half time, but we played really well. Bournemouth's goals were pretty much on the break. One from a corner, one from a defensive error from Gehi. But one of those weird games, you go in at half time 2 down, but you think you're in the game because you've done nothing wrong really to be 2-0 down. You know Glaston's going to get in there and get in them we came out absolutely firing in the second half. Mateta gets 2 quick-fire goals, and how we didn't score a third and a fourth and a fifth, I don't know. And then Bournemouth hit you on the break in the last minute, go 3-2, and you think, well, that's surely game over. 6 minutes of injury time, get a penalty, which I think is a harsh penalty on Bournemouth. It's he's not probably getting the ball.
It was a little soft.
It was soft, but the referee had warned them beforehand for it. If he saw it again, he was gonna blow up, and that's what he did. Mateta rolls it in for 3-3. There's literally 30 seconds left, and he still had the chance. 30 seconds later, it was the easiest one of them. It was the easiest chance of the lot, and he absolutely skied it, which obviously contributed to his 3.64 XG. Crazy game, good performance. I'm looking forward to the game this week, the Arsenal game, because I think we're playing some great stuff. A little worryingly that we've looked a little open at times in chasing these XG numbers, but long gone are the days of Roy Hodgson parking the OEP wagon. Good times at Palace. Good times.
I think that final miss by Mateta though is like, that was like Palace's kind of big chances created versus goals scored, kind of in a microcosm, really, wasn't it? Because we checked in on this on the last episode. I think Palace had something like 27 big chances created, and it was like 8 or 9 goals scored, and Mateta was 7 of those. So it was when you think about like how many big chances you are creating every single game, on average 2 to 3 per game, and then you see something like that, you go, oh, it makes sense now.
Well, somebody along the lines in the next few weeks is going to get an absolute C into. I don't think it'll be this weekend, but we've got a run of really nice fixtures from game week 10 onwards, and I think one of those teams is going to get a hiding, because we're going to score those chances. I can see us putting 5 or 6 past somebody, because there's no sign of it letting up, because the formation and the just the way Glasner has the player set up, it looks fantastic at the minute, and I wouldn't be surprised. I've said it here now, game week 10, 11, 12, one of those teams are going to get absolutely roasted.
I hope you're right, Scott. I hope you're right, because Palace players are in my plan.
Any chance of us getting along to one of those games? That would be lovely.
I was actually going to invite you boys to the game on Thursday if you can make it.
Half term, unfortunately, but that's a.
She loves football.
I mean, that's not a lie, but I don't much fancy bringing her to Croydon. Sorry, Palace fans. Right, battle at the bottom. There's some relegation 6-pointers happening across this game.
Supposed relegation 6-pointers.
Well, yeah, I mean, like Sunderland, Wolves, West Ham, Brentford. Like you would have definitely seen.
It was the Burnley Leeds one, wasn't it? That's the one probably that stands out.
Burnley Leeds is the standout one as well. But you could. Oh, Gyökeres, is that Gyökeres' goal? Is it?
Yeah, it was a it was a goal that he needs. Okay, don't judge him when you see it. But yeah,
3 yards out and a tap in, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. No, the Leeds, Burnley, and Sunderland, Wolves games were probably the ones that I would suggest were, well, actually, no, because Sunderland have done pretty well so far this season. Maybe West Ham, Brentford, actually saying that we're more like the relegation 6-pointers. Probably didn't go the way that we thought that they were going to go. I felt like Leeds and West Ham were capable of winning those fixtures. But obviously went the opposite way. Brentford absolutely bullied and battered West Ham. I watched Hammer's chat watch along yesterday evening. It was not pretty watching a West Ham fan watch that game. I'll tell you that. And likewise, I'm sure Kane is absolutely splitting feathers watching Burnley
the Burnley Leeds game. Leeds actually dominated large parts of that game, and the scoreline doesn't really tell you anything about the game itself. Burnley didn't create much. Come over 2-0 win. Leeds, I think, had 18 shots in that game. And Dubravka and co come away with a clean sheet, which is football, isn't it? I went double Burnley defence because I think Leeds are a little shot shy, a little blunt in attack, and it just got lucky, I guess.
To be honest, I don't think it's luck. I honestly think that's kind of the blueprint of both teams. If I'm being brutally honest, Burnley we know are historically set up to defend. They always were going to try and be solid defensively. So far, they've kind of struggled to do that. But
is that home form stat you produced a few weeks ago? That's what made me convinced to go double Burnley. They're conceded 2 goals at home.
It's a really good point.
So that type of record is what's going to potentially keep them up. And again, Leeds, that trend has been similar from through the whole of the Premier League season so far. Is they're having lots and lots of shots on goal. They're not putting the ball in the back of the net. So again, I think it's kind of again, if you dug real deep into it, you'd have probably seen that trend, and I think you did really well in analysing that. And again, I guess probably similar to the Sunderland result, I guess I just wanted to give them a bit of a shout out, to be honest, because they've only conceded 6 goals, which is amazing. Yeah. They've conceded the same amount of goals as Man City. And it's 4-0. Get in.
You can turn it off now.
Sorry, I'm getting distracted. My bad. I'll get back to being professional.
You were just talking about how newly promoted Sunderland have conceded.
I'm pleasantly surprised of how well defensively they are, and again, attacking wise, they seem to be putting the ball in the back of the net as well. And I just think I'm just surprised of how well they're doing. To be honest,
they look very well organised, don't they? I mean, from back to front, they look very, very rigid, very disciplined. The Breeze has got them playing real nice sort of brand of football. They're playing quite sort of free, and they don't like a newly promoted side at all.
To the point where I even this weekend when they've got Chelsea, I look at that and go, I think they would be quite confident that they could maybe potentially try and get something.
Your man Mukiele come out with the first goal.
Oh, he's been a revelation.
He's playing right back.
Revelation. He's so good. He's so good.
So Dan Ballard come back into the side and he played right back. Is that going to be the way forward now for him?
Possibly. Obviously, I don't follow Sunderland to that extent. So, maybe I need to dig in a little bit deeper. Again, historically, from where I know him, from RB Leipzig days, that's where he started his career at right back.
Yeah.
He's a leggy dude, quite pacey. So he's got that in his locker. And again, still returning on DEFCON as well. So, I think Sunderland fans will be, feeling an air of confidence about themselves. Mm-hmm. Rightly so.
Yeah, absolutely, rightly so. And at the other end of the table, Wolves struggling massively. Obviously, lost to Sunderland in that game. Looked quite void of ideas, which is odd because when Pereira took over from last season from O'Neill, they had like an injection of belief and they stayed up pretty comfortably. They started this season like they started last season. He's already signed a contract extension, which sort of keeps him tied to the club, which is a bit of a strange move, I guess, considering they are struggling. And then the game that Darren mentioned, the last night's game, the West Ham game, I drafted in Bowen. I mean, I had a choice of Bowen or Mateta for this week, and went Bowen over there's an Arsenal fixture next week. Threw me off it. Obviously, hindsight's a great thing. You look back and go, well, what was I thinking? Surely,
of course,
it had to be Mateta, right? But West Ham were woeful, right? And not to beat them too hard, but they were so poor, and they look bang in trouble.
Yeah, and one player that stood out for me in that game as well was, again, if you're looking at budget strikers to kind of move your budget around elsewhere, Thiago, again, he seems to be banging form. He seems to be the main guy for Andrews up top. And yeah,
after the goal got disallowed as well, that marginal offside.
Yeah, he was so hungry, and I was just very impressed with him. And again, they look much more organised considering again the assets they've lost. So again, props to Andrews there. Another one I think for me was Damsgaard. Again, very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Again, probably doesn't put the FPL numbers up, but from an eye test perspective, if he could put some of those assists into more assists, then I think we would be good. But
yeah, for sure.
He's always got a spectacular 30-yarder in his locker as well. Seen him score some absolute belters.
I just enjoyed watching him, his movement, and he's good on the ball. Just very good.
Yeah, agreed. Chances for Brentford to kind of break away from that relegation dogfight. I mean, we had them, all three of us. We pretty much had them going down this year. Do you think that's still very much the case or not?
I think they will struggle. They looked very impressive last night, but I think West Ham were more to blame for that. They just were so passive in that midfield. West Ham. Brentford were first to every loose ball, every second ball. They beat them too. They looked more hungry. They were quicker. West Ham were extremely poor. So, but I think Brentford will be dragged into that sort of chat because I think Wolves will pick up. They have to improve. Burnley going to be in and around the conversation. They'll pick up points as well that will drag Brentford back into it. So they'll be in and around that sort of relegation chat come sort of March, April next season.
Yeah, fair enough. Moving away from the relegation chat, we probably do need to just cover off the international break that we've just come out the back end of.
To be honest, Darren, this main point was obviously it threw our teams off a little bit with injuries, etc., coming back from the international break. But for me, this is more, I guess, of a reminder of the step up in the amount of fixtures. And obviously the international break is part of that as well. But obviously now, you heard Glasner say at the weekend about how he's going to potentially have to rotate for the Europe game, with games coming thick and fast. You've got the Carabao Cup next week in between games, and then you've got Europe again the following week.
4 in 9 days, I think it is for a lot of teams.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, I guess my advice would be hold your transfers until late to the deadline, and just keep your eye to the ground with regards to potential squad rotation. That would be, I guess, something to keep a lookout for.
Absolutely. On the Enzo point, because it was Enzo that really sort of threw it wide open, wasn't it? He could come back into the team. On that Chelsea performance, João Pedro, who is a bone of contention for a lot of managers, do they stick or get rid of him? He started as the number 9 in that game, and at half time, Maresca brings on Gui, and Pedro dropped into the 10 and looked much better because as a number 9, he was invisible. He was dropping so deep. He was like playing between the centre halves at times to get the ball, and they got no outlet. So my question to you would be, if he starts Mark Gui as the 9 and Pedro as the 10 because he's much better suited, does that mean if Enzo comes back into the team, he plays slightly deeper?
I can't see that being a long-term thing. I think with Enzo in the 10, he might get more joy out of João Pedro in the 9. But yeah, João Pedro is a massive bone of contention for me in my squad. He's had 1 shot on target in 4 games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't produce any XG if you're not bloody shooting. And another stat that because again, I was investigating big chances created, obviously thinking of Mateta and our Palace conversations. And again, a lot of the lead strikers, as you imagine, are the majority of those big chances created. But João Pedro, again, don't shoot me, Chelsea fans. I know he's not an out-and-out number 9 before you come at me, but he's only 9% of their big chances created so far this season. When you look at Haaland, and he's 60%. of Man City's big chances created, as an
because,
example.
Because he's their go-to main outlet. Like all the balls are going into him, and he's the one that's like pulling the trigger ultimately.
But when you see players like Mateta and Voltemade scoring, and you're holding on to João Pedro, who's at similar pricing, it's so frustrating, isn't it?
You just your brain's going, look at those fixtures. Look at those fixtures.
That's it. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah,
I totally empathise with that. Like I was so like keen to, because I'm very top heavy on my team, and we'll get into that in a bit. But I am rolling the dice one last week because I look at that front three and I go, every single one of those three are playing against teams that absolutely are beatable, and they should be scoring at least once, if not twice. I look at it on paper, I should be having a really good week most weeks with that strike force, but it's just not coming together for whatever reason. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. On that note, let's get into some team chat about like who we've picked and who did well and who didn't, and everything else like that. I think it's fairly obvious where I went wrong. Captain
is that not a typo? Should that not the 7 and the 3 be the other way around, Darren?
I wish it was. I really truly do. But I mean, look, I took a risk on Isak against Manchester United. Again, I felt like a goal, maybe a brace, could be a possibility. And if
he started, I was a bit surprised he actually started.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, that's
you called that.
Yeah,
Ekitike's done nothing wrong. He's looked sharp when he's played.
Yeah,
I think I saw a stat that they haven't lost all the games that Ekitike has started, and they've lost every single one that Isak has.
Yeah. So I took a risk, captain armband on Isak, hoping that he would match or better what Haaland could do, and it didn't pay off. But in the grand scheme of things, had I captained Haaland, like yes, I would be in like the 50-point region, but I definitely wouldn't be in the 70-point region.
If you'd have captained Haaland, you'd have been about the average.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's okay to do what you did, but I think you got to pick your weeks. You're looking at Haaland. I mean, you got to try and pick that week you think he blanks, or the form he's in at the moment. I wouldn't back against him on any week. Until he shows signs, or City shows signs of slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, well, I was watching that score, that City Everton, and I was like, okay, first half's over, 0-0. This is kind of going to plan because Isak hasn't done anything against United either. In fact, actually, United have gone 1-0 up really early. That's okay, great. That's my Virgil clean sheet gone straight away off the bat. So I was really hoping that Isak was going to do something, and it didn't materialize. But at the same time, I was looking at that game going, okay, so Haaland still hasn't done anything either. Great. Okay, so I might be okay from a rank perspective. And then of course he goes and gets a brace within 6 minutes of the restart, and it's just like, oh, okay.
Well, Isak had that one chance. He got put through 1-on-1, and obviously didn't take it. I'm not sure what you think, Paul, but he still looks to me like he's not completely wound up, totally fitness wise, sharpness wise.
Yeah. For me, that's probably my verdict too. Not quite sharp enough. And yeah, I am a little bit surprised that he's not starting Ekitike, considering his form. And again, he's done nothing wrong to be dropped. So it's a little bit strange. But I guess when you spend that type of money, again, that's why he's finding it difficult not to play Verts, because when you spend that type of money, you want to see a return. So yeah, I think that's the main problem. That the large price tags are haunting those players a little bit at the moment, and he hasn't figured out the blueprint to kind of either fit them all together. Because again, the other option would be to play Ekitike out left, but then how can you drop Gakpo again, who's also in very good form? The red herring there is your man Mo Salah. Really, he's the one that really probably should come out based on if you're basing it on form alone. He would be the guy that you'd go probably put Gakpo on the right. If you want to try and play Isak into form and fitness, put him up top, and then play Ekitike on the left. And the other one again. Sorry, I won't rant on too long on Liverpool, but Chiesa again comes on, contributes. That guy can't buy a start, I think.
Yeah,
and he's got goals and assists in his last sub appearances. He's got returns, and yet there's no talk of him even potentially taking a starting berth off Salah for a game here and there.
We mentioned Salah a couple of weeks ago about him potentially being droppable. Do you think it was telling that he took him off with them chasing the game?
I think that shows the lack of influence that he is having. So yeah, for sure.
And then Isak
because he put every other striker on. They finished the game with like 9 strikers, didn't they?
Well, that's probably another reason why it helped Man United push on and get the winner, because they were a little bit imbalanced by the amount of attackers they had on the
terrible,
pitch.
Wasn't it? Terrible.
So Isak came off around about the 70th minute, and there's Ekitike came on for Isak as well.
Again, looked dangerous when he came on.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
yeah,
lively.
kind of. But he's just that type of player, isn't he? He wants the ball at his feet. He wants to run it. Wants to run at players and create opportunities for himself. If nothing else, like if he's not going to get the service, then he's more than willing to pick the ball up and run at players and create the opportunities for himself, which is, that's a rarity in today's game, certainly in the Premier League anyway. Listen, that's enough about my team. We can see that it needs reconstructive surgery from the bottom up. We will do game week 9 team chat in a bit, but I will tell you up front, I'm rolling the dice. I'm going to roll my transfer. I'm going to keep top heavy for the next week, based purely on the fixtures, and just see where we go from there. And then I'll have 2 transfers going into game week 10. Paul, decent week for yourself. 77 points. You've gone up quite a bit in rank. I think you said pre-recording you've jumped up like a million places. Is that right?
Yeah. Again, the defense coming in good. The Mukiele pick coming in good. Again, Gabriel doing what he does best, and then again Saka getting those DEFCON points also helped. Same with Semenyo. I'm not sure if the assist was taken off him in the end.
He got credited with the second assist, not the first.
I see. Yeah. So yeah, that again, happy days. Obviously, I bought in Enzo. I took a risk in bringing him in, but again, forward plan anyway to have him in anyway. So I wasn't too bothered that he was going to get subbed off. Again, still have this Gyökeres, João Pedro headache and how to solve it. But yeah, I will. We can discuss that when we get to my game week 9 team.
And Scott, likewise, 75 points, big jump up in rank as well. I think, again, about 100,000 places for yourself. Obviously, when you're playing at the top end with the big boys, the margins become a lot finer there as well, don't they?
Well, I gained the rank on that double Burnley defensive call pretty much, because nobody else was had the balls to do it.
The cojones.
I mean, if you saw my bench, you would see that it wasn't a ballsy call, so I had no option. It was the Spurs boys that let me down. I mean, I watched the Spurs Villa game. The game we didn't touch on. Spurs were poor. They were really flat. Playing at home, they didn't do anything. Didn't create much. Kudus looked off the pace, and Pedro Porro is becoming a bit of an issue. He's a big price tag defender, and he's not doing anything. So he's benched. I think when we come to mention our teams for this week, I'm got him on the bench at present. My only call really was Njai over Reinders. I fancied Everton to do something against City, and if you watch the game, Njai was very unfortunate to not come away with a return. He again picked up DEFCON. He's a bit of a workaholic, isn't he? But such a good player as well. And he's going nowhere in my team with Grealish coming back this week. I think Njai is a good option.
Nice. Well, that's our game week 8 scores. We'll get into the Arsenal Palace chat next. I've got no skin in the game on this one, so I'm going to let you boys take the floor, and we'll have it out and just see what comes of it. But I think it's fair to say that there are assets from both teams that might be valuable here. Depending on who people choose to back. It's definitely the league's best attack versus the league's best defense. So it very much depends on how you build your teams and where you go from here. But yeah, boys, the floor is yours. Let us know what your thoughts are on potentially the biggest game of this weekend.
I just thought it'd be an interesting topic because obviously me and Paul being supporters, and Palace having the best attack at present, first 8 game weeks, and Arsenal having the best defence. I thought it was just an intriguing matchup, and a good chat, good debate. I was going to suggest to Paul that I talk about Arsenal to keep it nice and short, but first and foremost, how do you see the game going, Paulie?
Again, I would suggest Palace will try and sit in, put Sarr nice and wide, put Mateta up on probably Saliba, I would expect, to try and push him back. Because again, he likes to step forward to support the play. So I think if you pin him back, then we're going to end up going backwards rather than forwards. Which I think is a positive. And again, he creates that threat in behind, which we'll be wary of. And yeah, I think you'll be attempting to defend your box. We'll play our usual game of possession-based, trying to play it around the box, trying to get you to move. And I think, yeah, you'll try and set up and try and spring us on the counter would be how I envision it.
Was it last season's game that Mateta nicked it off Saliba and then dinked it over Raya? Was that the game in the Emirates last season? Yeah,
the 2-2.
Yeah, probably be a similar. Yeah, I think you're right. We'll try and sit in. We don't part the bus. We play like a mid block, try and win it in that sort of
you'll try and press us.
Yeah,
to make mistakes.
And like you said, Sarr is the outlet because of his legs. And then obviously to get Munoz involved in the game as well, he creates the space by dragging the fullback in. It's a very simple tactic, and teams haven't really sort of wised up to it yet because we seem to have lots of success, and our XG being as high as it is, 16.4, is it top of the league for the first 8 game weeks. It's an intriguing matchup because I can see us having joy in that transition. Although Arsenal are very strong defensively, elite level defense. Again, they kept another clean sheet tonight against a very strong Atletico Madrid team. Shut them out, which is what Arsenal do. They hardly give you any sniff, do they? I just hope that we don't concede an early goal and it all sort of caves in. We start chasing the game because in recent weeks we have looked a little bit vulnerable at the back by being too adventurous. So I hope the game from our point of view doesn't go that way early on.
Well, I think that's probably a positive from your perspective. Obviously, you've conceded 8 goals from a 12 XGC. So you conceded 4 less goals than you should have.
Yeah, Henderson's quite high on the save list.
Sorry, we missed that.
Henderson's quite high up on the save list. I think he's like 4th on the list for saves, which is what that XGC sort of counts for.
Yeah, and you're 2nd on tackles, 1 and 4th on interceptions. So I think that obviously highlights stylistically how you like to play, because you like to, like you say, you're a bit more of a mid-block kind of pressing side. You kind of let people try and get into your half, then press. which is a little bit different to what I guess Arsenal come up against on a weekly basis. So that's going to be, I guess, a challenge to go around. And I think it'd be again down to who takes their chances. I think we'll obviously look to create set pieces. I don't know how I don't know if you've got any set piece stats with regards to Palace. Are you good at defending set pieces?
Well, I've got the goals and how they've been shared out. So you've scored what was it, 17?
Yeah.
17 goals, 8 from set plays. 54% of your goals have come from set plays, 33% from open play. Whereas we have 50% of our goals that come from open play and 30% from set plays. 3 of those set plays are long throws for us, which has seemed to be a threat. We aim for Gay on the flick-ons. But, I mean, a lot is spoke about Arsenal's set play work, isn't it? And why would you not utilise it if it's a massive threat of yours? I mean, again, Gabriel scored tonight from a Rice corner.
We scored 2 set pieces tonight.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, why would you not utilise it? We haven't got any defensive stats on that. It's hard to find any. But I do know we have conceded from 3 corners just by being a fan and watching every second.
Yeah, I think depending obviously how good you are in the first, say, 10, 20 minutes with regards to defensive actions, I think obviously then we start to play for set pieces a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
The one stat there, the Gabriel stat, I don't know whether you guys have seen it, but 20 goal contributions since he's joined Arsenal.
Yep.
He's the only centre-back to do that in that time. So that's 18 goals and 2 assists since he's joined Arsenal, which I think is pretty crazy. He's so reliable. And, like you say, a large portion of our goals have come from set pieces this season. So I think it's definitely part of our armoury that I'm certainly not ashamed of as an Arsenal fan. To be honest, I love it. I love it because for me, again, it creates, if anything, it creates a buzz. The crowd gets up because we know we're good at them. We know the opposing fans are going, oh, Jesus, not another one. And we that's why we keep loading them up. And I think you can tell it's not just lumping it in the box. These are intricately planned set piece routines, and we're just very good at them. So I have no shame in it whatsoever.
Well, you got two fantastic dead ball, Rice from one side and now Saka's back in and looking sharp from the other side. I mean, and Gabriel loves those left-footed in-swinging Saka deliveries, isn't he? Because they're pinpoint and he knows exactly where to be. And he's so aggressive at attacking it. I mean, we got some big lads in that back line. Hopefully, one of them takes him. I'm hoping Mateta takes him out with an elbow somewhere on the halfway line, not seen by anybody. That's what I'm hoping. I've done a little comparison, Gabriel versus Gueye, just from an FPL perspective. Gabriel is 33% owned by the player base. Gueye's 32%, which I thought was quite surprising. I thought everyone had Gabriel and no one had Gueye in their sides, but there's only 1% splits them. Gabriel's up to 6.4 mil, another price rise last night. So if you got on him at 6 mil, you're earning money off him. And he's the 3rd highest point scorer this season, Gabriel. And he's the 5th highest, 59 and 50 points, which is mad, isn't it? So let's hope that one of them, Gay, gets on the score sheet or on the assist sheet this week, and Gabriel doesn't.
Well, one of them's probably going to end up on the lesser points scored this week for sure. Because again, based on those stats, there's no way it's going to be a 0-0 draw, right?
Oh no, you've just cursed it now. Now you've said it.
Have I just jinxed it?
Yeah. Now you've just said it, and we've done a whole 10-minute conversation on it. It's definitely going to be 0-0 now.
It can't be. The amount of big chances that Palace create, how good we are defensively, and again, we're pretty good going forward. Being the league's top goal scorer, you can't be that bad. Or if even if most of your goals have come from set pieces, you can't be that bad of a team, right?
Arsenal looks strong, right? I mean, all joking aside, Arsenal do look very strong. The strongest side probably in the league at the minute. We watched the Liverpool Arsenal game a few weeks back together. Liverpool won 1-0, and I watched them and thought Arsenal looked solid. Went to Anfield and controlled the game pretty much without the ball, which I thought was a good positive. And if it wasn't for a worldie of a free kick that beat you, I saw positive signs. And you've kicked on since then and look. You know, I'm not going to say you look the best team for the title. It's only eight games in, but you certainly have all the ingredients and the strength and depth and that to be challenging properly this season.
Yeah, I certainly won't be getting carried away, but I think the strength and depth from the signings in the summer, you can clearly see that they are helping. You know, no one's even spoke. You know, we've had Odegaard out this season already. We've had Saka out this season already. You know, Havertz hasn't played a game yet this season. Hincapié hasn't played a minute since he's come in. You know, all these, you know, fairly, you know, big players for us, and we haven't kind of been, oh, for goodness sake, no, because, you know, Madueke's come in and now also got injured. So it's, you know, he came in and played really well. And, you know, Gyökeres only scoring 3 goals so far this season, although, you know, not great on the surface of things. Hasn't been, you know, a real bad thing at this moment in time. He will have to kick on. He will have to start contributing more goals. But does he have to score Haaland numbers for Arsenal to be successful? I don't think he has to. I honestly don't think he has to, because I think we do have goals all across the pitch. You know, 10 different goal scorers this season already. And I think we can do that fairly consistently. I think Gabriel will chip in with 5+ goals. You know, Rice will get on the score sheet. Fingers crossed, Eze can start putting the ball in the back of the net. You know, Martinelli, Trossard, Saka, you know, Havertz when he comes back. I think all these guys can contribute a decent level of goals to not need Gyökeres to be that 25 to 30 goals a season striker that, you know, everybody wants. Of course they do. But there isn't many. You know, in world football now, there's only a couple that I can think of. That's Harry Kane, Haaland, and probably Lewandowski. They're the only, and they're elite. You know, they're, you know, in their prime, £200 million players. You know, Haaland's probably pretty much in his prime now, but, you know, back in those other two, back in their prime, you're talking £200 million worth of forwards in modern football now. So, you know, I think it's just going to take time. I've seen lots of signs, and I think he's doing all the right things. And I think 2 goals tonight. Let's hope that triggers him into maybe finding a goal on the weekend.
I think his main role for you boys is he offers something different. Keeps defenses stretched because he can go in behind. You've not had that option before, like with Havertz. He's not going to go in behind defenses, so it's easier to set up and easier to defend against. It's like a bit like Haaland and City. I mean, he can come short to feet. He's good in the air. He can go in behind it, so it gives the centre half something to think about. I think that's his main role in that Arsenal team at the moment. He looks to be that sort of threat in behind. So do you stick with him? You know, do you step on him and allow the space in behind, knowing he can beat you for pace? You know, I think it just gives you more options.
Yeah,
I think there's a couple of things that I want to like highlight out of that chat between yourselves before we move on, and I think that it's the fact that Arsenal's set pieces, as you rightly highlighted, Paul, like if that's a route to goal, then you shouldn't be like ashamed of that in any way, shape, or form. And I think that the fact that other teams kind of like pile on and give it all of this like Stoke 2.0 like rubbish and things like that, it's because ultimately they know that every corner kick, every free kick, like every long throw in and around the box, they're in trouble. They're going to be in trouble, and that is a weapon in of itself, right? So Gyökeres has a shot or Eze has a shot and the goalkeeper tips it over, they know that the danger isn't over yet. Like they've still then got to go through that period of it's going to be a corner, it's going to be a throw in or whatever.
Because for me, it's a way of winning games when you're not at your best, and we've already seen it this season. Fulham, we weren't at our best. We won from a set piece, and that will happen multiple times this season.
Yeah.
And it's such an ace card to have. Most teams when they play badly, they lose.
Yeah,
they don't win. So, and we're not going to be at our very best every single game. Like Palace is really going to be a massive test for us at the weekend, and it's really going to test that defensive record because, again, they have all the weapons that will pressurize us.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as well another thing to pick up on as well, the multiple routes to goal from open play that you do have. Obviously, you mentioned there 10 different goal scorers across the team as well. And again, that's only going to put other teams on the back foot because as soon as Eze's on the ball, they know that something that can happen. As soon as Saka's on the ball, Rice is on the ball. Like all of these elements, they know that something can happen when those individual players like have the ball at their feet, and so then it becomes a race against time to regain possession and make sure that the ball goes up the other end of the pitch. And conversely, for Palace, Scott, like you're done incredibly well this season to create those opportunities from open play, and it's going to be a really intriguing game to watch just for that, just to kind of, as Paul mentioned, like this is going to be Arsenal's biggest test from a defensive perspective because what Palace have managed to do to the previous 8 teams that they've played this year is like they've broken through the lines, they've got those final balls in. Mateta's on fire, with regards to what Mateta can do. Hat-trick against Bournemouth. Can he carry that form on in game week 9? So yeah, I think like outside of I don't know what the full fixture list is for game week 9, but I do think this is going to be like the must watch game of this weekend for sure.
I mean, being a Palace fan, we're on no illusion. This is probably the hardest game of the season. You go away to Arsenal. It's a fortress at the Emirates, pretty much. Just be intriguing. I'm looking forward to seeing exactly where we are as a barometer and judge them against the Arsenal because, as that left-hand graphic shows, we haven't had the best of times against them, and Glasner will set up to win. He won't go down and park the bus. We will set up to win the game. We will be open if we're chasing. Which is those scores from last season, which is what happened. That game at Selhurst Park where you beat us 5-1 last year, it went 1-1, and then I think you scored pretty quick to put it 2, and we just chased the game and was so open. It was unreal. But that's what I want to see. I want to see us try and win games, and I don't really mind if we get beat 5-1 by Arsenal. I think the gap will be a bit closer this week.
Yeah.
I think we have stepped up. And people keep referring to us as Crystal Palace, but we're the current FA Cup holders. Let's not forget. Let's take confidence from that.
2 pieces of silverware in 12 months.
There you go. I even put one in there for you, Scott.
I know. You put a lesser one in there. Thanks. It's a good touch. Thank you.
All right. Let's move on because I'm conscious of the time. We've just skipped over onto the hour mark. So this is the game week 9 fixtures list. We've got the fixture difficulty rating there as well. A nice handy kind of star chart with regards to attack versus defense. Guess if you're a Football Manager player, that you'll recognize the significance of the 5 stars rating there as well. Honestly, some really, really good fixtures coming up across this game week. And I'm looking at games like Brighton, Manchester United, Danny Welbeck on fire and Brighton playing really well. Manchester United back-to-back wins. They look like they've kind of got that system starting to figure it out a little bit. Palace, Arsenal, as we've covered. Chelsea, Sunderland. I mean, it's green on the ticker, but I think Sunderland are going to give Chelsea a right good game. I think it'll be a really interesting matchup. And of course, Fulham, Newcastle. Newcastle are grinding out the wins. They're not looking spectacular doing it. Fulham look reasonably okay defensively. That could be again a really intriguing matchup stylistically.
Well, real quick, the two that stand out are pretty much what we highlighted from last week. Is the Leeds West Ham game, and then that Wolves Burnley game down the bottom there. You got four teams that are going to be in the shake-up for the relegation zone. So very important results for those four clubs.
Yeah, for sure. Another relegation 6-pointer weekend. Your thoughts on those two games specifically, and again, are you backing any assets out of those? I know that quite a lot of people have Statch in their midfield. Scott, you've got Bowen. I don't know if Bowen is going to survive into game week 9. I've got Paqueta for West Ham. So, and again, are you going double Burnley defense against Wolves?
I'm very tempted, I got to say, but so. When we come to our teams, I'll explain. But I am tempted to go double Burnley again this week because Wolves have looked pretty ropey going forward, haven't they?
If you look at that chart, Scott, Fantasy Football have given their attack at 1 point 1.5 stars.
Well, there you go. If you're not going to go double any defense against a team like that, then when are you? So yeah. Currently, I've got Esteve on the bench. I think. So not currently in my thoughts, but yeah, I am quite tempted. And then I brought Bowen in last week for a run of West Ham fixtures that were quite favourable. I was hoping to see a bit of a Nuno bounce and saw nothing last night. So I'm not really that enamoured. I should have gone Mateta.
Still time to bring him in. Paolo, any fixtures there that you'd like to highlight? Again, any specific assets as well? I guess Liverpool versus Brentford. We've spoken about how disjointed Liverpool have been up to now, but again, that is a game that represents a great opportunity for Liverpool to show what they're capable of, right?
They need to bounce back, right? It's just unimaginable that they go 5 games, 5 losses in a row. It just can't happen. And I really think Brentford at home, they create a great atmosphere at the G-Tech. I think they would really fancy themselves to create that upset. And Thiago, again, like I say, he's in great form. They're probably going to target the likes of Konate or, even, both of them seem a little bit off it at the moment with regards to the 2 Liverpool centre-halves. So I think he'll fancy himself. And yeah, I think it's a real coin toss, really. On paper, you'd say, Liverpool shoo-in. But I think, unfortunately for Liverpool, football's not won on paper.
Yeah, well, I guess we can't leave this section without talking about that Bournemouth Forest fixture.
For sure.
With Sean Dyche coming in as the Forest saviour, the 3rd manager already, 8 game weeks in.
That's crazy.
What's your take of him coming in, and do you think he'll have an impact?
I think he's the right manager stylistically to get them in a better place. I'm honestly hoping it's 1 game too soon and Semenyo has a nice hot streak. But I think he'll get them organised, like similar position what he's done at his previous clubs. Defensive first. They've got good individual defenders, so that he should be able to do a job. But I don't know what was wrong with the first manager they had at the start of the season, to be honest. So,
well, that chap is at West Ham now.
Yeah, I bet he's looking forward to that payoff as well.
I mean, Forest are in the relegation conversation. They've looked poor at both ends. Is it unfair to judge them on those performances and results, considering what's been going on?
Oh, I think so for sure. Like you can't have 3 managers in 8 game weeks and expect any kind of like consistency. Each of those managers would have come in and had their own ideas, right, of how to, get the best out of that squad. Obviously, Nuno was I would imagine would have been same as last year, and let's go again, boys, and try and get top 5 or top 6 or whatever, because we fell just short last year. And for whatever reason it didn't work out. I know there was a bit of a tricky summer and there was stuff going on between them and Marianakis, which probably the writing was on the wall for Nuno probably quite early on, regardless of performance or results, to be perfectly honest.
Mm-hmm.
Ange's come in and hasn't really done much.
It's been a disaster. Let's not sugarcoat. It's been a disaster.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. But that's what, surely that he was never going to be the right man to take hold of what was arguably the Premier League's best defensive unit over the last couple of years and turn them into this amazing attacking force. And I know that Chris Wood probably had the season of his life under Nuno last year. And the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White and players like that. Alanga benefited massively last year under that system, but at the foundation, Forest were a very defensively astute team, and then bringing someone like Anjin, who basically wants to put his back 4 up on the halfway line, it was never going to work. It was never, I don't understand how that conversation even went when it came to hiring someone like Ange, with the greatest respect to him.
It was the lure of that trophy that you won.
Sure, but also look at how Spurs played last year, finishing 17th. It's not good enough for a team like Spurs. I think the European trophy sugarcoated a lot of it, from with the greatest respect. And now we're with Deitch, and we know what he's done at Burnley. Performed really well with them in previous years. Done amazing job to keep them in the Premier League consecutive years. Come unstuck a little bit in his last season and just didn't quite get it together. But again, he's going in and potentially picking up what Nuno started, and just again solidifying that defensive foundation, because we know the type of football that he likes to play. And I joked a little bit in our group chat as well about, like, maybe Milenkovic becomes a bit of an asset now, because he loves those big meaty boys in the box for corners and stuff like that. Maybe Milenkovic is the new Gabriel for the rest of the season. Who knows? But yeah, I think he'll do well. I'd like to see Forest kind of regain some kind of identity. I think Deitch is the right man to do that, because it's just picking up where Nuno left off in many respects, and we'll see what happens. Does it happen against Bournemouth? Maybe not, but this time in next month, give Deitch another 4 or 5 games, we might be talking about a very different Forest.
Sure.
Right, let's get into our game week 9 teams. Scott, I think you're up first as always. Dubravka in goal, Tarkowski, Gabriel, Steve across the back, Sarr, Kudus, Ndiaye, and Gakpo across the middle, Haaland, Bowen, Pedro up top. And you've made 1 transfer this week, switching Dorgu for Chalobah. Talk us through a little bit about some of your plans. Obviously, the graphic shows double Burnley defense, but I think that's just your setup from game week 8, right?
Well, so I've got 2 options. One option is the roll, because I plan to do a game week 10 wildcard and 11 bench boost. So I'd like to go into the wildcard with 2 transfers as opposed to the 1, just to give you a bit more flexibility on the other side. Or I do that move, drafting Chalobah, because I think he is an asset that's flying under the radar a wee bit. And then he plays instead of Steve in that back line, and I don't go double Burnley. So either way, the other subs, I'm pretty set that Porro's going to be sat on the bench. He's done for me now. On a wild card next week, he's finished. And Reinders, I think, he didn't play tonight, Reinders, which probably bodes well for the weekend. because I've been a little concerned that his minutes might be managed at some point, and it seems to happen tonight. So he might come in, but I'm not sure who for. I fancy Sarr to do something against Arsenal. Another 3 are guaranteed, and I can't drop João Pedro playing Sunderland, despite how good Sunderland have been.
You got Sarr versus Gabriel. I know we've had this conversation with you before, and you're not adverse to having an attacker against a defender in the same fixture. Although I'm gathering that you're banking on, if Gabriel does do anything, then it could be a goal, which is worth more than a clean sheet anyway. And then Sarr obviously scoring from midfield would be worth more than what Gabriel loses in the clean sheet as well.
Yeah, you sort of hedge your bets, didn't you? So if the game ends up being a 0-0, you win with Gabriel. If Palace get on the score sheet, Sarr should be involved somewhere in that. So you sort of hedging your bets. You can't win them all every week. You can't have every week where you don't have conflicting players. I wouldn't bench Sarr because he has a half decent record against the bigger sides, because we set up to release him into areas that are dangerous. So he might be a threat against Arsenal. So no, I'm quite happy with that. It's just the Chalobah transfer in, if it happened or not, really.
One thing I noticed, Scott, when obviously writing up your commentary, it looked like you've moved your wildcard and bench boost forward. I just, again, wanted to get your 2 cents on what's made you do that.
So most managers, I think, have used theirs, and a lot of them moved players in that I already had. So I felt no need to press the trigger up until now. It's just looking at the bench boost, really, and what week suits. 10 and 11 are quite tasty. There's some matchups in 10 and 11 that are quite nice. But also I was thinking longer term. So in game week 16, we get these AFCON transfers. And I'm thinking, if you wildcard in 10, you should be pretty much set, I reckon, up until that point. And you just casually get out your African players one by one. And then you got 5 transfers to really go aggressive for the back end of that window. Just as a note on that, I had a few messages on socials that seem to think that you get 5 transfers given to you, and it's not. It's just a top up. So you come out of that with 5. So if you're going with 1, they give you 4. If you're going with 4, they give you 1. So it's not 5 extra. You just end up with 5.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the maximum 5 roll transfers, isn't it? Regardless.
There's some people thinking if I went in for 3, I come out with 8.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Just change the whole squad.
Yeah. Roll 5 transfers going into AFCON. Oh, I got 10 transfers. Great. Woo.
Yeah. So, like a wild card.
I know it's 8 weeks off, but I think it's something. If you got a wild card still, when do you use it? So to answer your question, that's probably why I've changed my thinking, because of those transfers from AFCON could be used really aggressively.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, mate. Paolo, you're up next.
Yeah.
Petrovic in goal, Gabriel, Tarkowski, Senesi in a back 3, Saka, Enzo, Reinders, Semenyo as captain, Gyökeres, Pedro, Haaland up top. The transfer that you've highlighted this week, Pedro for Mateta. Talk us through some of your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm just getting a little bit fed up of Pedro, to be honest. I know the fixtures are beautiful in the next 4 on paper. I just feel like others are going to contribute in those Chelsea teams, and at the moment, I don't. He's not. If he was producing underlying stats that were going, it's coming, but we're getting nothing from him. You know, like I say, 1 shot on target in 4 games is appalling. So he's not shooting. He's not creating any big chances. He's not really involved. So I'm looking at him going, that Sunderland game for me is tougher on paper than it looks.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm just looking at Mateta. I know, obviously, it probably feels a bit knee-jerk. He scored a hat-trick. But Palace's fixtures after the Arsenal game are beautiful. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. He feels like the most attractive choice from a striker's perspective to bring in for after the Arsenal game. I just potentially would be a week too soon.
So what would you do? Would you bench him or play him?
I would play him. Because, again, similar to you, Scott, I think if you score, he might be the guy that does it. He's the likely guy that does it based on the amount of goals he scored for you this season. So that's my gut feel on potential transfers. Again, not 100% sold on it, because do I just wait a week and bring him in next week? But again, I'm just trying to think.
Go through Pedro paying one more week.
A little bit more aggressively.
Yeah.
Do I sit on Pedro and get another 2-pointer and go, oh, God.
It might be his week for the red card.
Yeah, potentially. So, yeah, that's it. Obviously, still monitoring Reinders and Gyökeres a bit more long-term. Obviously, Gyökeres scoring 2 goals tonight. Hopefully, that peps him up for the future games. But again, we've got Burnley upcoming, so I don't think I'll be ditching him any before that game at the very least. And the main plan is to probably get off the Van der Ven and Tarkowski between 10 and 13, because that's when, well, again, I haven't been very impressed with Tottenham defensively in recent weeks. So I think he's an obvious choice, but because he's so low and all the decent 4.5s are now probably 4.8, it's quite difficult to hop off him onto an obvious choice. So I probably won't need to do both in one sitting. Again, I could probably do that now, but again, it feels potentially, again, week or two too early to do both. Especially, I think Everton again potentially have got one of those
Sunderland. I think the week
promoted sides next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of and ahhing really between those 3 main players. And then, yeah, I was looking at the bench boost again, not 100%, but again, the bench boost is a little bit of a throwaway card for me. I just kind of just want to get a shot of it, to be honest.
It's not a bad week for you to do it, actually. Looking at those fixtures.
I didn't think it was the worst week to have it. It's not the best week by all accounts based on that bench, but
how set are you on Semenyo captain?
Again, I'm trying to be brave because I need to catch up in some way, and the only way I catch up is by outperforming Haaland on a captain week. And I just feel they've been so bad. This potentially is a good opportunity. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I swapped that straight over and it'd be Haaland versus Villa. So again, don't shoot the messenger if all of a sudden I switch it around.
Villa have picked up, so it might be a week to at least consider it, because like you said, Forest have been awful defensively. Bournemouth very strong at home. And Villa have picked up, so the chance that the City could struggle against that Villa side. So yeah, maybe a good week.
Yep. Any other thoughts on the picks there, Scott?
No, I mean it's a very solid side, isn't it? I agree with everything he says. Spurs have looked a bit ropey at the back. Tarkowski's times probably is coming up, and Pedro, we spoke about what to do with him at length. So yeah,
for many game weeks.
Many game weeks.
It feels like now.
No
you'll still be in your team in 4 weeks' time. Nice row of 2 points, and those fixtures will run out. Everyone will ditch him, and then he'll start scoring.
Well, yeah, that's the whole, FPL adage, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just want to try and get on the front foot with it. And I know it will likely happen, because it always happens. He'll bang a brace or something. But yeah, I just think Mateta long term. Yeah, and I think Chelsea potentially might struggle a little bit at the weekend, potentially.
Probably said it when you were mentioning bench boost, but just to be clear as well, I think that fixture list there, when I look at Pope, Statch, Michele, Van der Ven, I can't think of many better weeks where the fixtures line up that way for you. It's probably worth a consideration, right? I think chances that Pope keeps a clean sheet against Fulham, pretty reasonable. Statch doing something against West Ham, pretty reasonable. Mukiele doing something against Chelsea, maybe keeping a clean sheet with Pedro misfiring. Not that unreasonable to assume. It looks like a pretty decent bench.
Everton and Spurs play out a 0-0 draw.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Let's crack on with my team, and then we'll wrap
therapy
up.
Session.
Yeah, exactly. We'll wrap up. We'll wrap up for the evening. I've gone Dubravka in goal, Tior, Van der Ven, Van Dijk at the back three, Bruno Guimaraes, Jack Grealish, Eze and Paqueta across the middle, Captain Haaland, Isak and Gyökeres up top. I've got Vicario, Lacroix, De Kuyper and Lefebvre on the bench. Massive rank drop for me this week. I actually dropped 1.4 million spaces on the rank, and that was just because obviously going against Haaland as captain took that risk on Isak. I'm going to go heavy up top just for one last week. I'm going to roll the transfer, purely just looking at those fixtures, like Haaland versus Villa, Isak versus Brentford, Gyökeres versus Palace. Paul rightly said Gyökeres scoring twice tonight against Atletico Madrid. Maybe that pumps him up for the weekend to do something against Palace. Who knows? But yeah, I'm going to roll the transfer, and then I will probably look to bring someone like a Danny Welbeck or a Voltemada or a Mateta in, maybe a combination of the both with two transfers in for game week 10. If not two strikers, then maybe swap Isak out and then invest a bit more into the midfield. But that's where my thoughts are at the moment.
Yeah, I think looking forward, you probably need to invest in some Chelsea, some Palace. You got your Arsenal set up. They got a nice fixture on coming. Newcastle also, and Liverpool's fixtures turn pretty good. So the Isak position, I'm not sure. I think in probably 3 or 4 weeks' time there'll be lots of talk about Isak because Liverpool, I think it's game week 12. Their fixtures turn really, really nice. And then Salah goes to AFCON, so there will be spaces in that Liverpool front line. So you got a decision to make with Isak, whether to stick with him and remove Gyökeres as the cash cow to put into your midfield. Yeah, I think you got a bit of surgery to do, but rolling is definitely the thing to do.
Yeah, agreed. I think as well, like what I always do to myself is I look at them as individuals, and I think like absolutely every single one of them are capable of a return. It's just that it needs to all come together in the same week. Like Grealish against Tottenham, he's easily been Everton's one of Everton's best players in their creative outlet. Bruno, as we mentioned, hauled in game week 7, unlucky not to do so again in game week 8. Paqueta is probably my only one in that midfield where I'm just like, he's probably not going to do anything, and I'd probably quite like to get him out. But Eze, Gyökeres, Isak, Haaland, Tior, Dubravka, Van Dijk, again, as a collective of individuals, they're all capable of returning something. Again, Van der Ven's probably the one that I'm just not quite sure on. As Paul said, Spurs not defensively looking great, and he's not one that really picks up a lot of def on the DEFCON side either. So yeah, maybe he's one to look at getting rid of as well. Although I've got Lacroix on the bench that would cover him quite nicely as well. Any additional thoughts?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'd look at Paqueta and Lefebvre really from your midfield and see how you can spend that money. And yeah, I agree with Scott. You're looking at the likes of Chelsea assets in the foreseeable are a definite must.
You got no Arsenal defensive cover either.
Yeah. Seems a bit crazy. not to have the best defense.
Yeah, you're telling me.
But,
telling me.
Again, trying to get in on them now may be a bit difficult because again, you're going to have to move probably multiple positions because you know, unless you jump off Van Dijk, which you probably don't want to just yet.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because like you said, those Liverpool fixtures turn quite nice as well.
I think that's the situation you're in. To rectify some of your positions, you're probably going to have to do multiple moves to really get it to a sweet spot.
Oh, if only I had a wild card. Oh wait, no, I did that 4 weeks ago.
So yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. Yeah, you're probably going to need 2-3 at the very minimum, really, to probably get the players in that you would require to probably add a bit more balance.
No, it will certainly be interesting to see what happens. As Scott rightly mentioned, around AFCON and whatnot, there'll be quite a few players disappearing across the league, and that will, you know, throw a lot of rotation up as well. But yeah, I'm rolling this week. We'll see what happens. Hopefully that top heavy line can return something at some point. It would be nice to see a return on investment. I worked out it's like £31 million out of my 100 million is tied up in 3 players. It's pretty deep. Right, boys. We are creeping on for an hour and 30. I think we will wrap it up there. It's been a pleasure chatting with you guys as always. And if you are still watching, please do leave a like, subscribe, share it about. It really helps the channel grow. Keep a lookout for a couple of the shorts from this episode going out as you're doom scrolling throughout the week as well. And please do the same there as well. Like and share it about because it really does help. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining me. Good luck for game week 9. The deadline is 6 p.m. Friday. We've got an 8 o'clock kickoff.
6:30.
6:30 deadline. So yeah, be mindful of that if you wake up Saturday morning and wonder why you can't change your team.
Happened to me plenty of times.
Yeah. Boys, it's a pleasure. And I will catch you on the other side. See you later.